Game started.
Gilbert 007MF from Chile. Okay, how about a French defense? Haven't played one in a while. Exchange French. Okay, this is about equal and pretty solid for white. That's about all I know about it. Let's see if we can stir up some trouble anyway. Like c5, is that an idea here? You can take and give me the isolated queen's pawn. The development's about equal. Yeah, let's get a bishop out first, see how he reacts to that. He can pin my knight too. Yep, pin and counterpin. Let's kick his bishop and see where it wants to go. Okay, in that case, let's bring the knight over to shore up this knight and free the queen to move. Yeah, very similar setup. So maybe rook c8 and pawn to c5 is an idea here. He's got no pressure on my d-pawn, so it doesn't matter that it's not really defended at the moment. And this bishop can drop back to e6 at some point to defend. He may be threatening a check here, but usually a whole lot that doesn't lead to a whole lot. So, and opening up the c file would be good, especially with this queen on c2. Okay, he's pausing to think here. He takes. Now I can take with the knight. He can exchange off here, but taking with the knight looks good because at the moment it puts a little pressure on this bishop. Maybe chases it to a less comfortable diagonal. It doesn't have any great squares. He can, of course, throw in this check, but then where does the bishop go after I just move the king away? And if he does this, then he's giving up the bishop pair. Now he gets the check for free. Check, king here, and then he has to retreat. He still is going to end up losing that bishop to a trade of some kind. It looks like, okay, so has he got some great tactic with the knight? Here. It looks like it's all covered. He can kick my bishop with his pawns, but I think I want to go ahead and grab his bishop while I can. So I've got the bishop pair. And what next? This bishop is a little fragile out here, but I don't see a tactic against it at the moment. This knight is a good knight, and it can stay there for a long time. Let's maybe shore up the pawns a little bit. a6, maybe even b5. Take some squares away from that knight. And maybe I can get a minority kind of attack going with b5, b4 here. I can double the rooks on the c file. Okay, let's drop the bishop back. Bishop to e2 is looking kind of interesting, but his knight is guarding that square, and I didn't play. And I would have needed to play rook e8, but that might have been an interesting idea at some point. So he's contesting the e file. I don't want to trade rook, so I'm going to leave this set up here. Yeah, let's start by doubling rooks on the c file, and then I'm going to try b4, b5 and see if something interesting can happen there. I may need to trade off this knight for one of my bishops. That's give up the bishop pair, hopefully in favorable circumstances. He voluntarily moves away from Okay, he's attacking that pawn. Let's not be too hasty here. He is attacking that pawn. Is this a case where I can dissolve it? No, he can just take. Is there a way to defend it indirectly? Like rook to d8, queen takes. Bishop here with tempo, and then bishop here check. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Let's go here and defend. Maybe rook could d8 anyway. Later setting up some idea of bishop h2 check. Okay, he could come into these dark squares here. Okay, here I take. Here he hits the bishop. Maybe a case where I have to give up the bishop here. But I'd rather give up in this configuration with the light squared pawn on d5. I'd rather give up the light squared bishop, so that's the better. If he takes here, I'll take back with a pawn, and I'll have the CD pawn duo here. Maybe I can get some dynamic things going with that. If he does nothing, maybe I can think about pushing this pawn forward. No, he's got d5 well under control, doesn't he? d4 is well under control by all his knights and stuff. Yep. So we went there, kind of rearranged his knights. Okay, let's drop back. Not give up the bishop pair in that circumstance, since I have an option. Think about playing b4 next. b5. There's a tactic here if his queen, and oh no, the knight is guarded twice. If this knight weren't guarded, there's always this tactic of bishop takes h3, pawn takes, queen takes, knight. But he's got enough pieces here to cover it. How about I can create that tactic by taking here if he takes back with a pawn, but he'll probably take back with the knight. Bishop takes, knight takes. Do I even like that? Okay, is he threatening anything on this file? He's threatening rook to e rook to e5, I suppose he is threatening that. Okay, I'm still going to push this pawn forward. If he plays rook e5, I will step this bishop out of the way, maybe back to c8 and then over to b7 as an idea, or just leave it on c8. Oh, the queen. Yeah, I was forgetting about the a-pawn, but the queen is defending it. Looks a bit rickety. Maybe I'm making mistakes here. But if he takes, I'll take back with the bishop hitting his rook. It'll interrupt his battery on the e-file. Okay, so he plunges in with the knight, hitting this bishop. So if I take here now, he'll take with the queen, I guess. Let's start by taking a pawn here. I have the queen and bishop pointed at the f2 square too. Okay, so he pauses to take the knight, hitting my queen, which he can take with check. Takes my bishop, I mean. It's my queen. So I don't really have time to take here. He takes with check, I take back, and he grabs the pawn. So, take here.
Check.
gets that check. Oh, this is looking dangerous, isn't it? I forgot that the king can't escape to this square.
Check.
So I'm lucky my bishop is there, but I may be getting hurt here. This may be a problem. Okay, rook here to try and break the pin. I think he has to take. Yeah, if he moves away, I had a threat of check and check with my bishop. Setting up a similar kind of problem. Okay, so it's queen and knight versus queen and bishop. And we both have isolated pawns. He just grabbed a pawn, so he's also got a pawn up. Not so great. Okay, I have a check and take pawn. Maybe I should do that now.
Check.
If he defends with the queen, I'm hitting 2 pawns really. So he can block with the queen, I can grab this pawn. And I don't see any tactic with the knight, of course. So now I have a passed pawn, and it's actually closer than his to the goal line. He's got the outside passed pawn. So if this were an endgame with no pieces, he would have an advantage. But with pieces on, maybe I have an edge here. The bishop can develop back to c5 here. I can chase the knight away and start this pawn rolling. And I can generate some threats on f2 as well. Okay, he retreats the knight without being asked. So I should start this pawn rolling immediately, I think. My queen's already in a good space. My bishop could be better, but it is at least protecting my king against checks on the back rank, so it's doing something. His pawn is tied up defending his knight. Okay, he can bring his queen there, that's true. I thought, keep marching forward with the pawn. Let's see, he can attack the pawn from this square or from this square. And I can push forward one more time. He goes back to this square. I can actually defend the pawn with the bishop, can't I? Let's get the bishop not quite sure. If I put the bishop here, it guards those squares that the knight might come to attack my pawn. But it may make it hard for me to advance. Let's see, queen. I can move the queen forward one square. Queen c2. And his queen is under attack. How does he defend it? If he trades, I've got a passed pawn. I take king over bishop here, king here. He gets there in time to stop the pawn. So I need to move the bishop first. So looks like bishop here sets up the idea of queen c2 and prevents him from attacking the pawn. Tricky position. So queen c2 now. If he takes, I take back. He brings his king over. Knight queen, he takes, so he loses the knight. And if he doesn't take, maybe I can grab a pawn here or do something. I can come here with check. Ought to be something happening. Maybe I push the pawn forward. The queen moves away. Getting tense here. What's he going to do? He trades. I think this is not good for white. I think I have just enough time
Check.
to promote. Okay, let's see if I can convert this endgame or if he's going to resign. No, he's not resigning. Let's put the bishop in front of the pawn and bring my king out. My bishop is always going to stop this pawn from queening, and I can use my king to gobble up these pawns. And I can also run him out of moves. So if we get to a Zugzwang position over here, he just runs out of moves. We're getting close. His king can't come forward because the bishop is guarding that square. My king can come forward. His king can't protect the pawn. Yeah, it has no square it can move to that protects the pawn, so I'm going to grab that pawn next, and then my pawn will go through.
White resigns.
So, good example of how you win an endgame with an extra piece. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any comments, and I will upload this new postmortem. See you guys then. Bye.